Okay, so one of the hardest parts about word problems is generating the equations because they're not going to be given to you. So what you need to do is you need to identify what the question's asking, what you need to find in the end, and then you're going to plan how you're going to do that. So in order to do that, we need to introduce some variables. So this question here says two numbers have a difference of 3. So the difference has a difference of 3. So difference means the one of them minus the other one is going to make 3. Then it says twice the larger number, so 2 times the bigger number, decreased, so minus 3 times the smaller number is 1. So from that information, we're going to be able to generate equations. But first, we need to introduce variables. So we need let statements. Every word problem, we have to have let statements. So we're going to let x represent the larger number, and we're going to let y represent the smaller number. So we know that this first statement says two numbers have a difference of 3. That means that the larger number minus the smaller number makes 3. There's my equation 1. Right? So two numbers have a difference of 3. The next equation is the other relationship that we're given. It says twice the larger number, so 2 times the larger number, decreased by 3 times the smaller, so minus 3 times the smaller number is equal to 1. So again, two numbers have a difference of 3. Well, it has to be the largest minus the smaller number in order to get positive 3. That's why it's x minus y. The second statement says twice the larger number decreased by 3 times the smaller is 1. So it's twice the larger decreased by 3 times the smaller, because y is the smaller number, is equal to 1. Now we need to find out the two numbers. So to do this, you can use substitution or elimination. I really doesn't matter for these problems. In this case, I'm going to use elimination. I like it better. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to multiply this whole equation by 2. And I'm doing that because I want to eliminate x. So my new equation 1 is going to be 2x minus 2y equals 6. And my new equation 2, well, the same equation 2, is 2x minus 3y equals 1. Make sure you include that line at the bottom to show that you're doing an operation. Now to eliminate the x value, the x variables, we want to subtract because they're both positive 2. So you put a subtraction symbol in the middle here. So you're subtracting these two equations, the top minus the bottom, and you're left with negative 2 right here minus negative 3. Negative 2 minus negative 3 is positive 1, so 1y equals 5. Now to find the other variable, we're going to sub this. So we're going to sub this into either 1 or 2. I'm going to use number 1 to find out what x is. So I'm going to have x minus my y equals 3, and you're going to get x equals 8. So we just found that x is 8 and y is 5, and now we have to check. So we're going to check. Since I subbed into 1 over here, I'm going to check in 2. So I want 2x minus 3y equals 1. So I have 2x, which is 8, minus 3y, which is 5, equals 1. So I have 16 minus 15 equals 1. 1 equals 1. And we got the answer. So therefore, oh, this is going to be tough. The two numbers are 8 and 5. Always conclude with a therefore statement. Show all your work. You have to have let statements and generate your equations based on the information that's given. So that's how you do that one. That's when you have number problems. This one's very similar, so I'm not going to do this one. I'm just going to set this one up for you. So again, we're going to have to read through this. It says one number is 4 less than twice the first. So a number is 4 less than twice the first. The sum of the two numbers is 5. What are the numbers? So we're going to have the sum of the two numbers is 5. So the other part says one number is 4 less than twice the first. So 4 less than twice the first. So twice the first minus 4 is equal to my other number, my y. So again, because I have x representing the first number, it's 4 less than twice the first. So it's twice the first minus 4 is equal to y. The whole idea of this word is represents the equal sign. So one of the numbers equals 4 less than twice the first. So here, again, you can use substitution or elimination. I would recommend using substitution because you always already have y equals. So you're going to throw 2x minus 4 in for y, and you're going to get x plus 2x minus 4 equals 5. So you're going to get 3x equals 9 when you join these two and move the negative 4 over to the other side. Divide both sides by 3. X equals 3. Now to find out your y value, you're going to substitute x equals 3 into one of your equations. I'm going to plug it into number 2. So again, you have to label these 1 and 2. Sorry about that. Yeah, I guess I'm going to solve this one. I didn't plan on it, but whatever. So I'm going to sub this into number 2. So you have y equals 2x minus 4. So it's 6 minus 4, which is 2. Now we're going to check this in number 1. So I want to check x plus y to see if it equals 5. And indeed, 2 plus 3 is 5. So therefore, my two numbers are 2 and 3. Pardon for the penmanship, it is pretty tricky to try to write on this thing and make it legible. But yeah, so that's the two number problems. Okay, for this one here, this is about investing money. So it says Sally bought a savings bond that earned 5.5% per year interest and a government bond that earned 6.5% per year interest. She, not he, she invested $15,000 in total and earned $925 in interest in the first year. How much did she pay for each bond? So the last statement there says how much did she pay for each bond. So our two variables that we need to find are how much the 5.5% bond cost and how much the 6.5% bond cost. So we know that she invested in total $15,000. So the amount deposited into the first bond plus the amount deposited into the second bond has to equal $15,000. Alright, so there's equation 1. So she invested two different amounts into two different bonds that both gained interest. Now, part of this question relies on you understanding what interest is, what 5.5% is. So 5.5% needs to be converted into a decimal. So it's 0.055. So 5.5% turns into 0.055. So that means that she earns 5.5% of whatever she invested into this one. So 5.5% of this and 6.5% of this was her interest that she earned. So she has 5.5% of her investment in the first bond, and she has 6.5% invest in the second bond. So this is amount of interest. So this is an interest equation. And we know that she earned in total $925 in interest. So again, when you earn interest, you earn a percentage of what you put in. So if she invests $10,000, or let's go with $100, and she earns 5.5% of that in a year, she's getting $5.50 on that $100. So she's getting 5.5% of whatever is deposited. Since X represents what's deposited, that's why it's 0.055 or 5.5% of that deposit and 6.5% of that deposit. And then together, that's her total money earned in interest, which is given as $925. So this one here, you're obviously, well, you can do substitution if you want, but I'd recommend elimination, and first step would be definitely to get rid of the decimals. So there's 3 decimal places here, so we're going to actually multiply each of these by 1,000. Because there's 3 decimal places, this multiplication by 1,000 will remove all decimals. So in doing so, you're going to get equation 1. Well, equation 1 won't change. It's still x plus y equals 15,000. And my new equation 2 now is when you multiply by 1,000, you move the decimal place right 3 times. So it's 1, 2, 3. So you're going to be left with 55x. Come on, there we go. Plus 65y. There we go. Is equal to 925,000. There we go. So again, we multiplied equation number 2 by 1,000 to get rid of those decimal places. So now the equations are set up. You can go ahead and use substitution or elimination, whatever you prefer. I'm not going to show you it. I will give you the answer though, because I'd like you to try this one yourself. You're going to find out that x was $5,000. And y was $10,000. But I want you to go ahead and try that. Figure it out. Use substitution or elimination to get those amounts. But that's what the final answer should be. And the last one. Alright, so this one has to do with a cost of something. So it says that a weekend at Ancaster Lodge costs $360, includes 2 nights accommodation and 4 meals. A whole week costs $1,200 and includes 7 nights of accommodation and 10 meals. We want to know what the unit price of 1 night and 1 meal are. So again, you look at that very last sentence. That very last sentence is going to tell you what your let statement should be. It says, determine the cost of 1 night and 1 meal. So X is going to represent the cost of 1 night. Y is going to represent the cost of 1 meal. So we're going to set up our equation. So let's look at the first bit. It says $360. $360. Oh, no, that's not 360. Let's get one of those. There we go. Is equal to 2 nights and 4 meals. Alright, so $360 gets you 2 nights and 1 meal. Again, X represents 1 night, Y represents 1 meal. So now we're going to do the second one. It says a week, which is 7, is $1,200. So I have $1,200 is 7 nights and 10 meals. There's my equation 2. So we have our 2 equations. We know that $360 is generated from 2 nights and 4 meals. $1,200 is generated from 7 nights and 10 meals. We have our 2 equations. We have 2 unknowns. You can use substitution or elimination to solve this. I would highly recommend elimination. Substitution would get very messy. Whether you eliminate X or Y is totally up to you. Again, I'm not going to solve this one for you because I think you can do it now. It's more the setting up that's difficult. But I will give you the answers. Your X, the cost of 1 night, is going to be $150. And the cost of 1 meal is $15. So you go ahead and try that, figure it out, and call me over and I'll check that for you. Hope that helped.